I woke to the sound of mindless chatter around me. Familiar voices they all were, and yet I couldn't place them. Will she be okay? Oh gods, that looks bad. I hope she's all right. Also, what will Percy think? Percy, who is probably fighting right now. I hoped he was all right. I opened my eyes to a wave of nausea, which I tried to fight off. Everything was still blurred, and this time tinged with yellow dots that seemed to be moving and spinning. I realized Selena was in front of me, wiping a cool cloth on my forehead, which didn't make much difference, but I was thankful for the help. Surrounding her were a crowd of my siblings and a few others. They looked plenty worried. How badly injured was I, really? When I looked down to see it, it was already bandaged up. How long had I been out? My thoughts were interrupted when Percy pushed through the crowd, looking really worried. His eyes were a darker shade of green than usual, and the corners of his lips were tugged in a slight frown. "Annabeth," he choked up. I hoped he didn't blame himself, like he always did. "Poison on the dagger," I muttered. "Pretty stupid of me, huh?" I noticed that Will Solace was unwrapping my bandages, and I almost passed out when I saw it. The space surrounding the wound was a deep green color. Percy almost fell over when he saw it. If it was possible, he seemed even more worried about it. Will Solace exhaled, which filled me with relief. "It's not so bad, Annabeth." And after that I couldn't concentrate, because of that high-pitched ringing sound which still filled my ears. I could barely tell what was going on. Through my misty vision, I could see Will grab a canteen of nectar. I would stay still to make the job easier for him. But I needed reassurance. I grabbed Percy's warm, soft hand, which gave me comfort, at least until he started to clean the wound out, which made me feel like he was jabbing daggers into the wound and leaving them there. "Ow, ow, ow!" I muttered. I squeezed Percy's hand tighter, watching the wound be cleaned out. When Will finished, I looked over at my hand holding Percy's. His hand was purple. Oops. I looked back to Will to find fresh bandages over the wound and a very sick-looking Will. Must have taken lots of energy to heal me. He said something to Percy about using my shield to keep an eye on things. My vision cleared a little, and the ringing in my ears momentarily stopped, but it still felt like my insides had been frozen, then microwaved. I got that line from Percy. It's what he had said after the scorpion bit him a few years ago. I now realized how accurate it was. "Thanks, man," Percy said to Will. Will nodded. "Just take your time." He closed the terrace doors and left Selena, Percy, and me alone. Selena was still pressing a cool cloth against my forehead. This is all my fault. How could she say that, when this was all my fault? I hated it when people blamed themselves for things they weren't responsible for. "No, Selena, how is it your fault?" "I've never been good at camp," she muttered. "Not like you or Percy. If I was a better fighter..." Was she kidding? Okay, first of all, she's an Aphrodite kid, and they're usually not built that way, and they normally don't want to be. Second, she was great at camp. She was the best Pegasus rider we had, better than Percy or I. Everyone had their skills in different places. What was so wrong about that? "You're a great camper," Percy comforted. "You're the best Pegasus rider we have. And you get along with people. Believe me, anyone who can make friends with Clarice has talent." So true. My head started throbbing again. Ugh, this was getting annoying. I couldn't think straight. Selena's eyes lit up, and she said something about getting the Ares cabin to help us fight, which seemed like a great idea. I nodded at Percy slightly, letting him know he should let her go. He was telling her she should try her best when a sharp pain dug into my head. Not a migraine, too. Under the light, all I wanted to do was close my eyes to the blackness, but I kept them open. I vaguely saw Selena hug Percy, send an apology glance my way, and head off. Percy sat down beside me and put his cold hand on my forehead. I couldn't help but notice he looked cute when he was worried. His eyebrows got all scrunched together. From the weird look he gave me, I realized I had probably just said that aloud. Oops. I spend all these years either hiding or giving hints of my feelings, and now, under all this pain, I just spilled it out. Thank the gods Percy didn't reply to that. You're not going to die when I owe you a favor. Why did you take that knife? You would have done the same for me, I told him, without any bit of hesitation. Percy thought for a moment, and then asked a bit quieter. How did you know? Know what? Percy glanced around, seeing if anyone were around, like someone would before they told a secret. My Achilles spot. If you hadn't taken that knife, I would have died. Panic welled in my chest. He had been so close to dying, it was hard to bear. My guess, I owed him, after all those times he had saved me. I remembered him looking straight into my eyes, distracting me from the Lotus Hotel and Casino so we could escape. Him and I in a bubble underwater in the Siren Bay, after he saved me from the sirens. Him holding the sky, which had saved all of us, so Artemis could fight. I'll never forget that look he had on his face. It was so determined, even though it was also painful. It sort of had scared me, seeing someone I relied on so much in a weak state. I don't know why, but it just did. And the kiss last summer, right before he had almost died and let me get away. But now I had saved him, and it felt good to know that I had sort of paid it all off. Percy had told me he owed me, though, which isn't really the way I thought of it. And his spot. He could have actually died. Like, gone. No more Percy there, ever. I don't even know how I would have felt. Some part of me wanted to know where his spot was. I wanted to be able to protect him if I could. But it would be really wrong to ask that, right? It was his personal business, not mine, at all. But if I had a spot, would I trust him with it? I would, no doubt. If I couldn't trust him, I couldn't trust anyone. Plus, most of the time, he would do the same. I took the risk. I don't know, Percy. I just had this feeling you were in danger. Where is the spot? His eyes widened for a moment, and I was afraid I shouldn't have asked. But then, his expression softened, and he told me. The small of my back. I was totally shocked that he had trusted me so much. Just, wow. He must really trust me. A whole lot. I lifted my hand. Where? Here? I put my hand to his spine, and he gently moved my fingers to the spot. Something about it seemed different. I saw him shiver when I touched it. I suddenly felt a lot closer to Percy. We were definitely more connected somehow. You saved me, Percy said. Thanks. I removed my hand, but he kept his there. So you owe me. What else is new? He didn't really owe me, of course. Not in my eyes. I wondered, if he could trust me with something as big as an Achilles spot, I could trust him with that visit from Luke, right? I owed him that much at least. You asked why Hermes was mad at me, I said. Hey, you need to rest. No, I want to tell you. It's been bothering me for a long time. I moved my shoulder slightly and winced. Last year, Luke came to see me in San Francisco. In person? Percy looked hurt. He came to your house? This was before we went into the labyrinth. Before... I faltered. Before he became Kronos. But it was too painful to say. He came under a flag of truce. He said he only wanted 5 minutes to talk. He looked scared, Percy. He told me Kronos was going to use him to take over the world. He said he wanted to run away, like the old days. He wanted me to come with him. But you didn't trust him, Percy said. But it sounded more like a question the way he dragged out each word. Of course not. I thought it was a trick. Plus, well, a lot of things had changed since the old days. I meant I hadn't known Percy. I probably would have gone with him if there were no Percy at all. I needed him, and so I stayed. I told Luke there was no way. He got mad. He said I might as well fight him right there, because it was the last chance I'd get. I felt feverish again. This was all too much for me.
It's okay, Percy told me. Try to get some rest.
You don't understand, Percy. Hermes was right. Maybe if I'd gone with him, I could have changed his mind. Or I had a knife. Luke was unarmed. I could have...
Killed him. Percy paused. You know that wouldn't have been right.
I squeezed my eyes shut. Luke said Kronos would use him like a stepping stone. Those were his exact words. Kronos would use Luke and become even more powerful. I had to admit, it felt good to let all this out.
He did that. He possessed Luke's body.
But what if Luke's body is only a transition? What if Kronos has a plan to become even more powerful? I could have stopped him. This war is my fault. I spat the last part out, letting my anger and sadness at myself show. His eyebrows scrunched up more, and his eyes glazed over a bit. They even became a bit watery as he stared at me. He opened his mouth to say something when the terrace door opened. Connor Stoll stepped through. What had Percy been about to say? "Percy!" Connor said, glancing at me. I guessed there was probably more bad news, but he didn't want to say it in front of me. "Mrs. O'Leary just came back with Grover. I think you should talk to him." Reluctantly, he stood up and left, after glancing back to meet my eyes for a moment. I think I almost melted. And then he left, Connor following after him. I was alone again, until Grover slipped out onto the deck. "Gods, Annabeth, are you okay?" I nodded my head grimly. "What happened? I mean, I heard you were hurt, but how?" I gulped. It was Percy. He would have died. I took the knife. I just did. He looked at me shocked, then said, "But Percy's invulnerable. Unless... Wait, you don't... right?" "I don't... what?" "You know where his spot is." I didn't. At least, then. It was just a feeling. It's okay. I'm not going to ask." He sat down beside me. 2 months, he muttered. "How, did that happen anyway?" I asked. "It was Morpheus," he said angrily. "I'm lucky I woke up at all. Blah!" He did that irritated bleat, and I cracked a smile. Thalia slid out onto the porch and said, "Hey, Annabeth, I hope you're okay. I'll be up and fighting in no time." She looked at Grover. A Titan wants to see us under a flag of truce," she told him. "Percy's coming too." She glanced at me. "I want to come," I told her weakly. "No, Annabeth, just stay here. You need rest for now, so you can be up and fighting in no time," she quoted me. I huffed. "Fine, just make sure nobody gets hurt." "We'll be careful," Grover said. And with that, they left to visit a Titan under truce. I hoped it wasn't a trick.